Alright, so we are back for another Dokkan battle video, and we did get the reveal for the next DokkanFest on Dbz Dokkan, and surprisingly enough, we're getting an Android 21. Definitely was not on my radar whatsoever. I was expecting something else. I mean, she's still going to be very good for the game. I pulled up a couple Android 21s. We'll look at them here in a second. They're on some very weak teams. They're helping some very bad categories that really needed help. More specifically, needed a new DokkanFest. So, definitely very good that we're getting her. But, I don't know, man. It was just very, out of left field. Did not expect this whatsoever. I think she is a crossover unit, right? Just want to make sure really quick because if she is, which, yeah, she is crossover. I think every Android 21 has been on crossover. We don't get normal, crossover DokkanFest. At least we haven't in a while. Maybe we did, a long time ago. But it's been a long time since we've gotten one. So, like I said, very random that we would just get one now. But I guess it kind of makes sense right after the Hero Celebration. So, I'm definitely not complaining. Android 21, I think, is a good choice. And definitely someone that is very underrepresented in Dokkan. We have, 2 cards of her. And all of them are mid. So, definitely a new one makes sense. And I think is pretty good for the game. Now, one thing I do want to clarify before we get into what the Android 21 could look like in terms of her leader skill and in terms of the categories that she's buffing. It does specify here, where is it? Oh yeah, a new event is scheduled to be released or something. So you can see it says stay tuned for a new super competitive event. So super competitive is very vague. I don't know if that means it's going to be Red Zone Broly level or it's going to be stage 8 of the Shadow Dragon event Omega level where it's just very difficult. So don't really know what this means. You could assume we would get the newest difficult event in the game, but I don't know. Dokkan likes to be weird sometimes. So keep in mind we're getting a really new difficult event on JP, which means for Global we should be getting this. This is the late November DokkanFest, so I think that means we get it the middle of next year, I'm pretty sure. But I'll double check on that later. So yeah, very good with Android 21. New difficult event incoming. Really cool. Now, some of the teams she's buffing. Look, I noticed one thing. Now, I'm going to just get this out of the way now because you guys know I like to cope for LR Kid Buu. If she does transform, which she most likely is, she's going to transform into Android 21 good, or she'll go into, the bad Android 21. But you know what teams they're buffing? They got Transformation Boost, and then they got Majin Power and Power Absorption, which are all very good teams, or very prominent teams, for a certain unit that does not have an LR yet. Let me find him really quick. Yeah, this guy right here. So I'm just saying, just throwing this out there. Maybe they're buffing up some of these categories a little for a potential LR Kid Buu release for, anniversary or something like that. I know it sounds like cope. I know we're never getting an LR Kid Buu because Dokkan just, I don't know, I guess he's extreme class, so Dokkan doesn't like him. He just automatically falls under that category that Dokkan just hates. But I'm just throwing it out there. His teams, his most prominent teams, are getting buffed. I mean, you might run him on Majin Buu Saga, but most of the time, I feel like you're running him on a Majin Power team. Most of the time, you're running him on Transformation Boost and then Power Absorption, which Kid Buu is not on. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I guess it's just the Buuhan and then the normal Buu that's on Power Absorption because they're the ones that actually absorb people. So, okay, that makes sense. But anyway, still, same thing applies. Majin Power, obviously, that's a Majin Buu Saga category. Literally has his name in it. And then Transformation Boost is a pretty prominent category for Kid Buu as well. So definitely some really good potential. Maybe if she's a really good support, maybe, I don't know, they could bring back the damage reduction support. That's one thing I mentioned a lot throughout the past couple months. But they gave the damage reduction support to Kid Goku, Path to Power Kid Goku, and they never touched upon it again. They just completely dropped it. I mean, it was a good little ability to have, though. It made Kid Goku very useful. I'd argue that's one of the reasons he's so good is because his damage reduction support, and then he's got the crit support as well, and then he's got the attack and defense support. So if we get a 21, I don't know, that supports I mean, I would say Transformation Boost just because that's a little bit more broad, but I'd still take Majin Power. I really just want her to work good with Kid Buu, but Transformation Boost would be a little bit better because Transformation Boost is a pretty decent category. There's a lot of super class units on here as well, and depending on whether we get the good Transform 21 or the evil one, because this one's extreme, this one's super class. But if we get a super class one, then supporting Transformation Boost would be pretty good because you are going to be running her alongside a lot of other Transformation Boost characters because she's super class, right? And there's a lot of good super class units on here that are also on Transformation Boost. So definitely, really good potential with the 21, helping a lot of future releases. And like I mentioned, if she has damage reduction support, she can make a lot of already established units look a lot better. Like imagine, Gamma 1 with an extra 10% damage reduction or something like that. Like he'd just be absolutely untouchable even in slot 1. Or Gamma 2, right? I mean, his defense can be a little wonky in some scenarios. I mean, he can get to over 1 million defense, but he is in that range where he's dying from supers. But if you slap on like 10% damage reduction, maybe she also supports for like, I don't know, at least 30% the stats, maybe something kind of similar to this, but not specifically the androids category. Then, of course, his stats look better as well. And then someone like Gamma 2 could look a lot more impressive because they've got that damage reduction, a little bit of extra stats. So, again, I think a good support for this Android 21, or making her a good support, would be really, really useful. But I don't know for sure if that's the direction they're going to go in, because this Android 21 is a support, but then the other one, I don't think she's a support at all. And typically with like these units, they like to keep a theme with all the named units. Like you guys know how it goes. Janemba has guard, and then I don't know, Cooler usually has a bunch of additionals built in, and then just stuff like that where these like named units usually have kind of a theme going on. But with Android 21, because we've literally only had 2 of them in the game, I'm pretty sure this is the only 2 we've had, it's kind of difficult to predict. I mean, maybe we could say she's going to be a good support, like I was talking about earlier. Maybe we could say she's going to have a little bit of a debuff, I guess, because this unit is, a debuffer, but we don't really want that, because typically units that do debuff aren't very good, because then they're geared towards Super Battle Road. So we're not really entirely sure the direction they're going with Android 21, but I think regardless, as long as they make her good, even if she's not a good support or anything like that, she's going to be very useful, because like I said, she's on a lot of really weak teams that are going to be getting buffed with potentially a new LR Kid Buu, or even if we don't get an LR Kid Buu, still buffing stuff like Peppy Gals, which has Bulma, would be really good. And then androids would be pretty good, which actually, we have been getting a reasonable amount of android buffs recently. I just want to look at this really quick. So we had the Easy A for MVP 17. That wasn't crazy recently, but I mean, still, he does buff that category a lot. Gammas, of course, they released like a year ago, so I guess that's not really what I'm talking about. But who else do we have? We had the DOKKANFEST Android 17 and 18, and then just a couple Easy A's scattered around as well. So, if they're buffing androids, maybe Cell Max up and coming, maybe a new LR Gamma 1 and Gamma 2, where Gamma 2 does the core breaker. I think something like that is definitely possible, because especially with Dragon Ball Legends, getting back into the superhero stuff, because of course we got the transforming LF Beast Gohan, I think it's very possible Dokkan could maybe bring that up again as well, because look, they know they fumbled. They know the LR Ultimate Gohan was a little rough. I mean, they choose to ignore a lot of criticism, I feel like. Like, they don't really listen to the community most of the time. Well, sometimes they do. That's not an entirely fair statement. But in terms of, like, them fumbling cards and stuff like that, I feel like they really don't care. Like, if a unit is mid, they won't do anything about it. They're just going to release it and just let it be. I mean, there's a couple times they changed the details for Easy A units, but it was, like, twice. And those were free-to-play units. So, for these major releases, I feel like they typically don't really care, but they definitely know they fumbled with the quote-unquote Beast Gohan. So I think a new one would be really good, and then maybe if he's alongside, I don't know, I guess you could just do a standalone Orange Piccolo, and then for part 2, and this is assuming it's like anniversary or something, and then for part 2 you could release a Cell Max, and then a maybe dual Gamma 1 and 2 card who have that standby and do the core breaker. I think that definitely would be really good, and then this Android 21 would be buffing that, because of course she's on androids. She's helping the Cell Max and the Gammas actually, so definitely very good at that. Full power, not good at all, so definitely get you help in that. Transformation boost, pretty good. She doesn't really need to help it, but another good unit on that category, I guess. Majin Power needs the help. Battle Blitz needs the help. Power Absorption needs the help. And then Crossover. Yeah, I'll definitely take the Crossover buffs. Actually, you know what? If they're doing something like this, if we got a Part 2 LR for the celebration, that'd be really, really good. I don't know what it would be, but that Part 2 LR would probably be on Crossover as well. I'm assuming it would have something to do with Android 21. I have no idea what they could do, but maybe this could be like their sneaky way of getting an LR on the Crossover category. Because of course with these Dragon Ball Heroes units, the main reason they probably aren't doing an LR is because they're like on their contract they have with the Dragon Ball Heroes franchise. It probably says they have to do like TURs. So unfortunately we probably literally cannot get LRs. Not even that Dokkan doesn't want to give us them. It's just they can't do it. So maybe if we get like this Android 21 as a DOKKANFEST, and then the Part 2 LR could be, I don't know, what's something from Fighters that is like really prominent? I guess all the other characters we already have representation from. Android 21 is the only like unique character, but something like that where it's still a crossover character, and then we could get them as a Part 2 LR. Although the only issue is I don't really know if there's a lot of hype like characters they could do for that, but you guys know what I'm saying. I think that's a good leeway to get like a crossover LR. Maybe they could just make them like a 200% across the board. I know Legendary Summon LRs typically don't do that, but I mean, come on. For this category, we need that. We need just a 200% across the board, and we need them to be very good because, I don't know, man. I mean, it's a solid category. Don't get me wrong. I love Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, love Super Saiyan 3 Goku Black, but we definitely need a little bit more help for this. So, I guess that pretty much has been the video. I mean, just briefly wanted to go over new Android 21. Let me know what you guys are thinking of this down in the comments, and let me know what you want her leader skill to be, what you want her kit to look like, all that, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.